Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for choosing to spend another Tuesday evening with myself, Wayne Bettis, and Mr. Andy Jones. How are we doing, Andy?
Good, mate. Good, mate. Welcome, everyone. Welcome.
Yeah, proving to be popular. You know, we had loads of interest on the last one. Can't wait to get started with today's one, which is titled "Quote Better and Win More Work." So today really is going to be focused on a bit of software, which I'm not going to jump into, but ultimately I've just got a little bit that I wanted to get off my chest before we sort of kickstart into the session. And the main part of that is both of us are tradesmen at heart. Yeah, we both run trades businesses. We've both been there and done what you're trying to do, and it pains me on multiple different ways, but the main ones are the amount of, or the lack of effort that a lot of people put into their quoting. And then that has a knock-on effect to a lot of wasted time, a lot of wasted effort when it can be fixed. And using the software that we're going to display tonight is going to be one of those things that once you see it and once you understand how easy and how quick and how efficient you can produce a world-class looking quote, you will wonder why you didn't do this 10 years ago. So make sure that you've got your pen and paper. Make sure that you're taking notes, because there's going to be a lot of information today. As always, you know, there's going to be time for Q&A at the end, and answering some questions, and I'll probably bang another WhatsApp group for anyone that wants to sort of go a bit deeper into it all. But let's just check the mics of people that are not the mics. Let's make sure people are actually on the other end. So I've already got a couple of comments in. So we've got 16 lads on at the minute. So thank you very much. If anyone is having any technical problems, please put a note into the comments and I will try and address them for you. But I'll trust that everyone is working it out all right. But Andy, this is obviously a big topic, especially for you, because you've knocked it out the park with the way that you manage this in your business. So let's have less Wayne tonight, more Andy. So I'm going to hand over to you for a little while. As always, I will be chirping in and keeping you on your toes, Andy. You know what I'm like. I can't keep my mouth shut. But Andy's got a lot to share on this. So make sure you're concentrating, make sure that you're focused in, and post your questions in, and I will make sure that they get addressed. If we don't get time tonight, I'll make sure that we address them in the WhatsApp group or the Facebook group. All right. Any immediate questions from the group, please fire them in now. If not, I'm going to hand over to Andy.
So what I would like you all to just drop a comment on and tell us if you're using any quoting software at the minute. If you are, what you're using. If you're not, obviously let us know that you're not using a quoting software at the minute. If you're doing it via text, letter-headed email, or whether it's just, you you telling them over the phone kind of thing. So a few things. Yeah, so I'm expecting we're going to get a few people who are probably using ServiceMate's proposal system, which works okay. And it's relatively quick, but it just doesn't have a few of the things that quoting offers. One of the things that's massive with quoting is it's a live software, so you're not actually sending something like an email. You're sending them a link. They open the link and they're viewing it live. Therefore, it allows, whether it's you or you've got office staff, to see that they're live. So to give you a bit of a run through of how our heating business uses it, and I'll go through the templates shortly, but we basically use it for basically everything. But we use it in a certain way that allows us to get the most from it, but it also then segues into your pricing structure. The better your quoting system, along with any other software that you're using, the higher you can generally charge, because it positions your business in a different way. So, you're going to have the lads that are doing it via text. You're going to have the lads that are maybe using ServiceMate. Then quoting takes it up the next level. It's very, very open. And I think we might as well just jump right in, I think.
Yeah, why not? Get to the exciting bit, eh?
Right, add a screen. Share a screen. Let's make sure I share the right.
Oh, no, got it. There we go.
So yeah, everyone's seeing that okay?
Yep, it's all displaying well, mate.
Yeah, let's make sure everyone's yeah, okay. So I'm just going to jump into one of the more common ones. So move to that from Traderfy. Oh, good to hear, Mark. So let's try, obviously, the common one. So I'm going to run through a few scenarios here that might be more applicable to some of the lads, and then I will run through how we use it in our business. So I'm just going to expand it slightly. This one thing that Wayne just spotted before, what I have the ability to shrink this down. One thing I wanted to mention is Quotient, while it is not an app, it is optimized for smartphones. So if you watch what the screen can do, so that is how someone would view it on their phone. So it's actually very, very well optimized, both for the user and also for the customer. So the end user, if you want to call it that. So what you are able to do with this is enter all of your. So this is for transparency, uploaded ads for my heating business, which is based up in Wigan. You basically customize this, or we customize it for you to however you see fit. So customer will see it. I'm in preview mode at the minute. The customer will see it, or we're looking at it how the customer will see it. So your logo there, your business address, if you're limited, your company number, if you're your VAT number. And basically what it allows you to do is pre-build a quoting system that's going to sit saved as a templated quote, essentially. Have we started? I'm getting the screen logo.
Yeah, it's all right. I've answered him, Andy. Cool. It's fine. Yeah. I'm on it.
Wicked. Okay, I'll concentrate on this. So what it allows you to do is build this out so that it's basically a templated system. So it allows you for it to sit there constantly. So just to jump back, here's a list of the templates that we're currently using and what we can build out. So you've got your boiler repair quote, boiler service, fault find, urgent and non-urgent, standardized boiler replacements at 25 and 30 kilowatts. Again, we're in the Northwest, so for you guys that are maybe in areas with bigger properties, you're likely obviously to be building something with some bigger kilowatts. But up in the Northwest, there's lots of 2, 3, 4 bed houses where these boilers are exactly what they need. CP12s for home buyers, as you probably all know, we're getting a bigger influx in the last probably 18 months from solicitors pushing for CP12s for house sales. So we've built a custom one for that. One for landlords, for those that do gas fires. So gas fire service, fault finds, heat only boiler replacement, system boilers, power flushing. So anyone that does power flushing, and then one for smart start installation. So the beauty really of the software from an elevation perspective on what you're using now is a couple of main points. So first of all, as I said before, it's pre-built, and this, as you've just seen, I haven't inputted any further data at this stage. It's already pre-built, and it's built how you want it built. We only supply and fit Worcester, so we have it as the 1000, the 4000, and the 8000, and they're all pre-built. So once this information is punched into the system, it sits there and it lives there. One of the unique things that I'm the advocate for and I coach all of my mentees on is using a standardized quoting system. So for any of you lads that might be going out quoting and they're looking at every single job, the reality is you don't need to go out to do a site visit for a combi swap nowadays. Whether it's you or an admin team or a VA, can figure out if the boiler's on a vertical flue, the current kilowatt of the boiler, the size of the gas pipe, and some information on the condense run. You pretty much got all that information there to work on an averages basis. So if the customer's telling you or your admin person they've got a 28 junior in the kitchen the chimney, the flue goes straight out the wall and the condense runs straight to the drain at the back. And it's got a 22 mil gas run, then you know that you don't need to go out to that. You know, you might use a little bit more copper on one job, a little bit less on the other. But the idea is that you're going to streamline the business so you're not wasting what could be billable hours on quoting. Conversely, if you do go to some of the bigger stuff and it's the customer can't give you that information, and you go and do a site visit, this also gives you the ability to basically pull out of the street in your van, park up quick, and send them the quote. And this is going to position your business and you as infinitely superior to the guys. And we've all done it in the past. They'll quote a job, they'll go home, they'll chill out, spend time with the kids. Next day will pass. Oh shit, I've not sent that quote. Another day will pass, because when there's a lot of effort required to build out a quote, you're less inclined to do it at speed. This is obviously going to give you the best, speed to lead, if you want to call it that. So you're going to build it out standardized, which is what we do. The next thing, what it allows you to do is implement upsells. So the way we do it, again, I'm not teaching you all to suck eggs. You're all going to have your own way of, and you're all your own products that you like to use. Again, we're using Worcester. We chuck in an EPH stat and a Worcester filter as a standardized thing, but then we will try and drive them to various upgrades. So obviously those who fit Worcester know how easy it is to fit the smart control. So we've got that on there. We always want to try and, again, you can do a combi swap in 3/4 of a day. So you want to try and fill the remaining time of that day, ideally on the same site. So a magnet lens upgrade on there as well, with the ability for them to put more upgrades on. Again, as you've probably figured out now, this is customizable by the customer, but in a way that protects you. No one's going to rip you off in a way, because they can't. Where can they go from here? Well, they can upgrade to a power flush. It will recalculate the final bill. But these go out standardized as it is. If there's any discussion on supply and fitting radiator valves, then we've got the option for that. For any of you that do service plans or are thinking about doing them, it also allows you then to implement an upsell onto service plans. Our business is quite big on them, and you can put all of the information there. We extend the manufacturer's warranty when customers join service plans, and they also get a couple of years free servicing as well via that. It also allows you to put, for those that have decent reviews that have been built up over the years, perhaps, allows you to put a little bit of a brief about your business, and you can pop a review link in there as well, and that will then basically take you straight out to a Google search of your company, and it can view all of the reviews from that, and that can be added onto every single quote that you do. That's going to then give them the final bill, or the final quote, if you will. If they're happy to go ahead, then they can sign this. As you can see, this can be done on the computer, laptop, tablet, phone, whatever they're using. If they have any questions, they can ask it through the software, and it will ping directly through to the connected email on the account. And then obviously, whether it's yourself or someone in the office, they will get a notification of that, and then they can respond accordingly. What you've essentially done there, and there was a hot topic on Gas Chat about this today, a couple of things. One was getting payment up front. This allows you then the customer has accepted the quote, so they can't really contest paying you up front. Again, they've got access to your reviews from that. So again, the beauty of this is, how much time have you just saved by putting this information into a quoting system that you can use a cookie cutter approach. So let's say, for example, we're going down the avenue of cutting out manual on-site quoting. Let's say you're quoting 5 jobs a week, 5 combis a week, and you're only maybe winning one of them. You could have sent all of these quotes out just from an online or a telephone inquiry without needing to go to site. They've had this nice, attractive quote sent out to them. You haven't wasted any of the business time, especially lads that are just on their own, or maybe them and an apprentice. Time is money. You don't want to be wasting time quoting if you can help it. So you want to be, the way I view it is, if you're viewing 5 jobs a week and you're only winning 1, there's 4 billable hours there that have been lost through quoting. you can fire this out and use that other time for doing line item jobs that don't require quoting, boiler servicing, breakdown, lads that do plumbing, swapping taps, etc., etc. So that's one of the more larger scale ones. But obviously, then from a protection standpoint, you're going to want to be implementing it for something like a breakdown. So again, apologies if we've got lads from other trades in here, but naturally having a heating business, I'm going to gravitate towards that. But what this allows you to do,
all the same principles work in any trade. You know, if you're a Sparky, you know, it could be the amount of sockets listed and they can select how many sockets they want. It could be the different types of EV chargers, if you do EV chargers or solar panels, or even down to like if you're doing driveways and things, you could, there's always in all industries, there is nuances, and to give that customer the options, the software can do. Obviously in this showcase tonight, it's about heating, but if you are from another trade, please don't think it's just for heating, because it's certainly not. It can be adapted, it can be built and set up to suit pretty much any business, can't it?
Yeah, I've built one out for one of the Sparks in the group, and just as Wayne said, what it allowed us to do was put sections in place for like you saw before with the TRVs. Customer can choose how many TRVs they want and it will recalculate the quote. For him, we had a section for if the customer wanted white sockets, plain white, it was, you know, X number of sockets and the price item for each one. They could then upgrade to white with USB chargers, you know, brushed chrome, black nickel. So the customer can have that. So you're not messing around back and forth. You've already inputted the financial data, if you will. You know, actually, well, I want to be making, you know, supply and fit on a double socket, 50 quid per socket. The customer can then walk around the house and say, well, actually, I want 5 USB sockets and 10 plain ones, and they can do it themselves. So instead of you sitting at home messing around with that quote, the customer's done it. So they can walk around the house with quoting open on the phone and go, 1, 2, 3, 15. Okay, done. So, you know, you're going to pass some of the work over. From that protection point, just to get back on track from what I was going, if you're charging strong with your fault find diagnostics fees, you're going to be familiar with the running into that problem of perhaps the customer may have used a cheaper guy in the past who either doesn't charge for fault finds or doesn't obviously ask for any money up front. We ask for payment up front for fault finds because it carries an element of risk. They might cancel last minute, find a cheaper quote, whatever. So this comes back down to being transparent for the customer. So then you can ask a little bit in return from them. So being transparent with your fees, which, you know, we've put in there, as well as being transparent with what's going to be done while on site. Again, we've got options for home care discount that. And then again, back to that review platform. When you're asking for payment up front, if somebody's a little bit hesitant, then you can guide them towards just saying, follow the review link, have a look at us online. If you want to have a think about it. Yes, we're a little bit more expensive, but we are a more professional and a better positioned business. We've got a team of engineers. We've got a team of admin staff. We can be there when you need us, however you want to position it. So again, I spoke about the flow before that we run in our business, and I want to go through this because this is, again, if you're looking to increase your pricing, which is the ever so hot topic, and me and Wayne have done countless podcasts on it. You know, pricing is the foundation of your business, and you've got to remember, and you guys are all here because you view what you have as a business. And you are elevating yourselves beyond perhaps what you've been in the past or what some of the other guys are, just a one-man band sort of mindset. Just being here and all you guys are all using software from what I can see, gas engineer software, trade help, whatever it might be, service mate. You guys are already arguably in the top 1% realistically compared to the bulk of the rest of the market. So you want to really lean into that. Add additional pieces of software like Quotient, and then increase your pricing accordingly, because what you're doing is improving the customer journey and the customer experience. When they get something like this, straight away they're like, oh, actually, these aren't the normal guys. Even if you guys might use a quoting software for some of the bigger stuff, and perhaps haven't thought about using it for the day-to-day bread and butter of your business. So by putting this in place, because it's already templated, you can send this in seconds. It takes less time to send this than it would to write a text out and say, oh, well, this is what we charge, because it's already done. All you got to do is log in and send it. So again, for us, we'll get an inquiry, someone will ring through. My boiler's not working, thinking about, I need someone to come and have a look at it. One of the girls in the office will say, right, okay, so you need a fault find diagnostics visit. Start taking some information from them. If it's come through the website, for example, we can link this up to your website or any lead generation platform that you're using. Excuse me, any lead generation platform that you're using, and it will automatically drag customer information on, so that when you start to I just want to show you, when you start to create a new quote, when you start to type in their information, it will already be there in the system, because they've come from an external inquiry. So whether that's the website, something like Check a Trade, it can drag that information across for you, so we can build that out for you. So to go back to where we was, to go back to that process. So yeah, customers rang up. One of the girls has already got this up on the system, and they'll be inputting the data, as you've just seen me do, inputting the data for the customer, and then they will take their email address and they will fire this across. They still haven't given the customer a price. They're talking through it. Okay, what boiler have you got? What's the problem you've got? Have you got a fault code on the boiler at the minute? Again, this works for other stuff. For the sparks, it's like, okay, my fuse board's tripping. Okay, do you know perhaps which run of electrics? Is it upstairs, downstairs sockets? Is it upstairs lighting circuit? Have you been able to identify that? So you're working through this, you're building that rapport already. Once they've got this, you've then positioned yourselves as, oh, actually, this looks a little bit different. We haven't seen anything like this before. It's telling them what's involved in a fault find diagnostics visit, and that's why it's chargeable, because it's got that breakdown basically of what we're doing, and the admin staff or yourself are reading through this along with the customer. So it's becoming a journey, so to speak. It isn't just giving them a price and putting the phone down and hoping that they decide to use you. You've already positioned you. Again, within this, that important review link that I've said before, care plan discount if they go for that. But again, the importance is the information that the customer wants is housed within here, and that's what then ties into that pricing structure. So anything you want to build out can be done. The servicing one is obviously another popular one that you're going to want to build out and have it ready to go. For those that do full strip down servicing like we do, again, this is imperative that you're going to position yourself as much better than anyone else, because it's explaining why we're potentially, double the price of the next guy. I've been quoted 70 quid. Why is yours so much more? Oh, it's because we do this. If you have a little look through the quote, it'll go through what we're doing. The customer's then on the back foot in a way, whereas they're like, well, actually, I'm no longer comparing apples with apples. The guy down the road is quoting me 60 quid, but he just told me a price over the phone and he never mentioned anything about stripping it down. Whereas this company, okay, they're quoting me a lot more, but they're talking about a full strip down service. They're talking about doing this, doing that, doing a gas safety check, etc., etc. So on to the next bit that I wanted to highlight is add-ons. So this is as long as you want to make it. So again, this is passing a little bit of work back to the customer and taking it away from you. So what we're basically doing here, we've all been there again for whether it's the heating guys or in the other trades, we've all been in that scenario where the customer, while you're here, if you want to call it that, while you're here, can you?
The famous words, eh?
It's ever so popular. And the reality is most of the time we'll just do it. So it's like, oh, while you're here, can you just check this radiator? It hasn't been coming on. while you're here, can you just tighten up that socket that's hanging off the wall or whatever it might be? You know, have you got some of those, you know, again for the sparks, have you got some socket screws? This socket's, you know, the screw's missing or whatever it is. So this can be done however you want it to be. And this is an add-on. So again, any mention of radiators not working, it's probably just going to need the TRV unsticking, or if radiator's cold at the top, then the needing bleeding. These are things that we all should be charging for, but it's very hard to relay that information over the phone, I think.
Yeah.
When it's in black and white here, the customer can say, oh, actually, yeah, there's a couple of radiators that have been playing up. I'm going to take that. I'm going to go in for that. Again, you're going to talk them through, or your admin team's going to talk them through. Oh, actually, oh yeah, I've got a cylinder upstairs. Okay, should we add that on for a service? That does need servicing every year. It's got safety valves on it, etc. Yeah, and the customer can, or you or your admin team can add this as they're going through it. Obviously, normal extra add-ons, gas fire, if you do that sort of thing, and it will build the quote as we said before, and then it will create the toll at the end. And then the customer can sign that. Again, just to repeat myself from before, by them signing and accepting the quote, it's in black and white. There's not going to be that awkwardness at the end of the job if you're not getting payment up front of, oh, I thought it was going to be this much. It's like, well, you couldn't have thought that because you signed and accepted it. It literally says there. They've got to click it and they've got to sign it. So
removes the wriggle room for them, doesn't it?
It does. You know, not everybody wants to charge up front, and that's fine. But by taking then in this, when you get to the end of the job, they literally can't say it's not what I thought it was going to be. It's literally like super, super accurate. It even splits the VAT off. It repeats it there. The clicking it and signing it, it really, really covers your ass. And again, as I said before, we use this, as you can tell, from all the templates. We use this for every single job that we do. There's some extra stuff on there as well. So just to go into some of the sort of nuances is what you can pull off with this. So again, as I said before, there's been a bit of a surge in CP12s for people selling and buying houses. So again, you're going to want something in place for that. But again, it's covering yourself, you know, in scenarios where people maybe don't mention that there's a gas fire, and then you get to site and there's a gas fire. So it's like, well, you haven't had it on, therefore I'm not going to be doing it. Or if you want me to do it, then it needs to be added on. You need to go back to the quote, add it on, and re-accept it. So again, it's just covering yourself. The customer cannot then say, oh, you just gave me a price for a gas safety check. I thought you was going to do everything, because it's literally the, please note, the property has a gas fire, click the add-on. So again, like Wayne said, there's no wiggling out of that, because it's they either added on. Again, it's at a discounted rate anyway, because you're already on site. And again, back to the add-ons, and this is where there's a lot of money left on the table all the time with a lot of work. You have to remember that. I don't want to go off into a coaching style tangent, but the value of jobs when you're already on site is infinitely bigger. You've not got downtime then driving to the next job. So you can offer discounted rates on certain things if you're already on site, because then there's no driving to the next job, there's no wasted time, etc., etc. So it allows you to do various add-ons. Another big one, something like that. So again, you're all covering yourself again. If you book the job in, schedule it in, and then at the last minute the seller or whoever it might be turns around and says, "Oh, you just need to pick the keys up from the estate agents. It's you know 10 minutes down the road." Oh well, you just need to add the key collection add-on on there. Again, a super common one for the gas boys that are doing CP12s. One thing I wanted to show for the landlords one is, and this was a conversation on Gas Chat today, is adding a service add-on. Pricing's wrong on that, I just realized. A service add-on when you're doing the CP12, the usual stuff, and obviously a big one that Wayne capitalized on, or has capitalized on many times in the past. A lot of the time,
Sold
they're
a
either not
fair
there,
few of those.
they haven't added them, when the regs changed a few years ago, or again, they are not present when you're on site. So that's the next thing. The other one I wanted to go on, and again, this is from a protecting yourself standpoint. So this is for the lads that this doesn't have to be. I know it says boiler repair quote, but this doesn't have to be that. I'm going to go use this as a like a vehicle for explaining how you should, whenever works are changed while you're on site, the quote needs to be signed by the customer. Again, this is a protection point from your business. How often have you heard talks on the forums? We've had it within the group for lads before they were using Quotient of the works have changed while on site. The customers agreed it verbally, and then they've rescinded on that agreement when they've received the bill, naturally. So, for example, it could be, what was it we had the other week? While you're here, can you fit, was it fit a rad?
Yeah.
Can't remember what it was. Fit a rad. It'll be this much money. Yes, that's fine. Crack on. They were there doing some other works. They were fitting some other rads that they'd supplied, doing a flush, things like that. And then the customer had bought a designer rad. While you're here, can you fit the designer rad? Yeah, well, it's going to be, 400 quid, whatever it's going to be. Yes, that's fine. Did it. Sent them the bill. It had the extra 400 quid on. And then I think it was the customer's husband who then contested it and said, well, no, I'm not happy about that. I didn't expect it to be that much. Like, I don't want to pay that much, blah, blah, blah. Even though the customer's wife had agreed it while on site. But without anything in writing, then it's back foot for the business then, isn't it? Because you have to chase at that point. So what this allows you to do, and again, I'm going to use it in the context from a boiler repair scenario. Let's say you're on site doing what did we have the other day with one of the lads? So we had one of the lads on site, and he was doing a boiler service on a Duotech. He's took the casing off, took the inner casing off. Signs of a leak. It had the old condense hose on it, the corrugated one, and it had split. So they needed the new condense hose, the newer design, the rubber one, replacing. To protect you and your business, you can do this yourself. Obviously, in this instance, the lad relayed it back to the office, and the girls in the office sent a new quote out. But what they can do, because you can do this on the fly, you can do it yourself. So you can, let me jump into it as a job.
Shrink it down to a mobile to show it in like how someone on site would do it. Yeah, just to showcase that element of it.
How's that looking?
Yeah, that's about phone size, I think.
Yeah. I can't see the other screen at this point in time. So let's say it's something like that, which is going to be on your phone.
Yeah.
So you can pull this up on your phone, and basically you can jump in there. So then for a figure, just for a figure, it's a bit much, but so another 30 minutes to fit the part. Obviously the part's broken down on there. You've added the figures in, and then you can send that across to the customer. Again, you're on site. Again, that's a little bit much for the job I'm talking about, but bear with me. You send that while you're on site, and you carry on with the service. You explain to the customer, or you get your VA or your admin person to explain to the customer that this is what needs replacing. We've got it on the van. If they've not, then obviously that labor time's going to go up. If you need to go out and get it, then that's going to go up, whatever it might be. And then you just change the pricing then accordingly, depending on if you need to go out or not, and you're going to cover some travel time for it. The customer then, obviously, you explain to the customer that if the boiler, this isn't fixed and fitted while on site, then we're going to have to at-risk the boiler. So again, you're on site and you're using your position as the engineer to explain to the customer what needs doing, and then protecting yourself as a business to say, well, you need to accept the new quote, and then you add it into it. So to sort of finalize on that, the key points of it really, speed of getting your quote out. That's either when you've been and done a physical site survey. So let's say you've gone and checked a boiler, the boiler quote, combi swap, whatever it might be, whether, or, you know, a big conversion job that probably does need a site visit. You can do it, get your information, nip round the corner, get a coffee and do it in the van. You know, as we've just shown you, it can be optimized for mobile kind of size. You can sit in your van. If you've got your iPad or your laptop, then it looks even better naturally. You can do that super quick. So if you think about that customer journey from the beginning, they've rang you up, they've asked you to go out and do a quote, you've gone out and done it, you've done a site survey, and within 10 minutes, 30 minutes of leaving site, they've got a quote in their inbox. I don't know any
not
other,
just any quote,
not
top.
Yeah. Yeah, to take it up to the next level, as Wayne's bang on with, they've also got a quote that looks like it's probably took you 3 hours to make, when in actuality it's been pre-built by your information previously, and they've got this, and it's a very, very, very professional quote. So you've done, if you look at that customer journey, you've done what you've said you was going to do. They've rang you, they've asked for a quote, you've given them a time and day. A lot of lads here are obviously using software, so they will have had a booking. They've had job reminders of using ServiceMate, which you should be. If you've got the job reminders, they'll have got that. They'll have got your arrival. Be polite on site, come out of the way, send them a quote. You cannot really do much more than that in reality. And that journey, again, for a lot of you guys, probably don't see it if you're not in the alliance. But if you are in the alliance, you will see that journey is in the 1%. That's the 1% journey that most guys do not conduct themselves in that way. And this just takes you up to the next level, essentially, because the customer can't really ask for any more than that journey. So again, speed to get the quote out. If it's a quote that doesn't require a site survey, then it's even faster. It can be done while you're on the phone, or again, whether it's a VA or an admin person, they can get the quote out while they're still on the phone to the customer. That allows them to perhaps do a little bit of a soft sell, especially with something like a boiler service. As I said before, they're not comparing apples and apples when they get a quote like this, and they've already had a quote from the cheap guy. They're now comparing apples and oranges, aren't they? They're like, well, this quote looks shit hot. There's loads of information in there. It tells us what we do. We can have a no, there's a link in there that has a look at the takes them to the reviews. This instantly better positions you again, which is what most guys aren't doing. And then the other sort of big final piece, it's the protection for the business, which again is once you start to scale and grow, is imperative that you have it, because the bigger you grow, the more you charge, the more you're likely going to run into risks. And you know, as times get more volatile financially, and as you're charging strong prices, you don't want to potentially lose out on a big chunk of change because customers turn around and said, oh, I didn't know it was going to be that much, I was expecting it cheaper. When you've got that signed quote, they can't pull out of that then, because it's a binding quote. Take a breath.
It certainly is. There you go. Well done, Andy. That was a very comprehensive overview of it all. So we've got about 20 minutes left of the session. There's only been a couple of questions so far, but I'm sure there'll be more. I'm just trying to think, have we skirted over something where we wanted to dive a little bit deeper? I think really the main, oh, don't worry, your questions to the lads there, I've starred them, so I will come back to them shortly. But I think, you know, we're all wanting to charge more. We all want to look more professional, be more professional. And these sorts of softwares are what take you, as Andy said many times tonight, you know, it stops you being compared apple for apple. It creates you in a completely different environment. And yes, you know, not everyone is going to be able to charge through the roof and charge high prices, but the better you present yourself is just another tool in your tool belt that helps you become better, more efficient business. So to jump to one of the questions, let me just find it now. I did save it.
Yeah, and I was chatting about
Liam.
Sorry, I was just saying.
Sorry,
I was
go on.
chatting.
No, yeah, go on.
With my office manager about this today. We're hiring a new part-time position at the minute for evenings and weekends because leads just come in. You guys know with this game, leads just come in regardless. And I was telling her how that we're in changing times, and what's going to happen over the next 5 to 10 years is the guys that are doing it the old school way, the 60 quid, not using any software, just telling the customer, I'll probably get to you next Friday, something like that. So not only are they, through inflation's killing off the 60 quid, is not worth 60 quid anymore. That's killing them off. But the more important side of that is guys that aren't using software will get pushed out of the market because people won't stand for it anymore. We're in different times now. We've all got Amazon Prime. We've all ordered on, Just Eat. We've all ordered an Uber taxi before. People nowadays, they want to be in the loop. They don't want anything to be ambiguous. They want to know exactly where they're at. They want to know who's coming, when they're coming. They want as much information as possible. You cannot give people too much information, and it completely changes the positioning of you of a business. Hot topic again on the forum today about what people charge for CP12s. Some people were saying 50 quid. To me, that's insane, and I imagine that they're barely scraping a living from doing it. But again, these are the guys that won't be using these kinds of softwares. You're all using a job management software in here from what I can see. This is obviously then an upgrade from your quoting side of things, and you're all on that pathway to being able to charge proper money. If you're using ServiceMate and Quotient, and you can charge the strong pricing because you've got stuff to back it up. I don't think you can charge the kind of prices we charge, for example, if you're not using any of that, because you've got to bring the value. Again, I don't want to get too much into coaching, so I'll just finish it on this point of that. As you elevate yourself as a business, you naturally have to push that pricing up. So again, the guys that aren't using anything, they're going to hit a point where people don't see the value. And in my opinion, around 50%, if not 60% of the value that a customer receives in 2026 comes from the work that is done outside of the site time.
Yeah.
So I'll just repeat that again. Don't think, and this is a closed mindset from the small guys, don't think that I'm just going to be a really good engineer and charge good pricing and I'll grow a business. It does not work anymore. That's the unfortunate reality. It worked 20 years ago. It doesn't work anymore because people's values have changed. There's less people who actually know what you're doing in a boiler service. They see the value in what happens outside of it. If you have a look at any of our reviews, it's always a mention of polite office staff, amazing communication, kept in the loop, texts on the way, engineers were polite. There's very little talk about the actual work that was done because people gravitate towards everything else that surrounds it. And the
work being done is an expectation, isn't it? That's like the minimum, minimum requirement. Like just because you've done the job you said you're going to do, like that's not enough to stand out, is it?
Yeah,
no, definitely not. Right, Liam's question, Andy: do you have to produce the quote every time, or can you send a link to a customer to get their own quote? So, do you want to answer that, or do you want to take 2 seconds to breathe?
Yeah, go on, let me catch my breath.
So ultimately, Liam, no, each quote has to be sent out individually. It's not like it's like 10 people can't buy that same quote, so to speak. So, but there are ways to speed it up, which also answers David Robinson's question. So in our businesses, the minute a new job is created in ServiceMate, it zaps that data, the customer's name and email address, into Quotient, so that then by the time, but literally like as you've created the job on ServiceMate, their details are in Quotient. So it's literally a matter of clicking in Quotient, selecting the relevant job. So whether it's a boiler service, whether it's a boiler install, or whatever one it might be for you. And then you just type their name in and they're already in the software ready. You just click their name and press send. I understand what the angle you were thinking there, Liam, which would be a great sort of product if that was available. But
is he thinking, like, for example, when your customers go on to Boxed and they completely build their own quote just from scratch? I'm wondering if he's meaning that.
No, I think he was more like, is it just one link for a boiler service that you can basically just have unlimited supply, like, so the customer just more like a product? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah,
because you're gonna, again, you want to try and individualize them a little bit as well, because there's going to be little modifications. So again, if, like, say, if they've got it turns out they've got an unvented cylinder, for example, you're going to want to add that on and then send it back to them. Then if you do service plans, you want to give them the option of being able to add that on and get a little bit of discount and things like that.
So the next question was by Ben. So I think ultimately what he's asking here is if they well, I'll read the question. What if the customer tells you the fault code of the boiler? Will you still do a breakdown and send the quote? The quote.
Yeah,
the question
always.
First?
Yeah. We had one today when I was in the office for the interviews. The guy had Googled his fault code. It was a Valent, and he said it needed a new pump. And he was adamant it was the pump, but he'd had a power cut, so we all know it could potentially be the board. It needs a fault find. Oh, I know it's the pump. It's like, well, in that scenario, again, you could do this if you wanted to, because we have done it before. And this is why, strangely, you need to use Quotient, because you're getting the signature. So what you would do in that scenario, you can put in Quotient that you've been asked to supply and fit a pump on the request of the customer. However, because the customer did not want to for us to do our own fault find, if the pump does not repair the boiler, then it is out of our hands, basically. So we always do fault find first, and we just explain to the customer that we're taking responsibility of the fault. If we get it wrong, then it's on us. So I'm just reading. You're just working your way down.
Yeah, I'm working through. Yeah. So Ben's question was, can you convert to invoice, and does it talk to zero?
It does. We don't use that way, truthfully. We do it manually through ServiceMate. The reason for that is we're very standardized, as you've just seen on the pricing structure. So there's very little variances. So it's accepted on there. We're going to have to book a job in on ServiceMate anyway. We use templates on ServiceMate which match up to the quotients, and whenever we change the pricing structure, we change them both. So we invoice everything through ServiceMate, because obviously that's our job management software, which then automatically reconciles through Zero. So hopefully I've answered your question. It's a slightly different path. It does go back to Zero, but we need it to run through the job management system. So it's more data from Quotient into ServiceMate, and then obviously reconciles with Zero automatically.
But ultimately, Ben, yes, it can talk to Zero directly. It's just not the way that we physically use it, but yes, it can.
Yeah.
This one's a long one, Andy, so might want to read that one out yourself, but I'll let me just scan it. We have, do you know what? Let's just read it. We're not in no rush. We have lots of customers who accept quotes after site visits. We have a team and I carry out a lot of site visits and quoting. I definitely want to train someone to produce and send out quotes using Quotient and oversee it to free up my time. But would you advise on reducing the amount of site visits or keeping what we're doing for the time being? So can I go first on that quickly? Sorry. So if it's working, then don't worry too much if you have the time. But ultimately, if you need to free up time, or you want to create more time so that you can do other things, then you're going to have to look, if that's the main time drag in your business for you, then you're going to have to look at either outsourcing it, like you said, to train someone to do it, or finding alternatives. So in my example, I tried video quoting back in like 2018, right? And it was just way too early. WhatsApp, like messages and that, people just weren't willing to do it. They wanted you in their house. Then COVID hit. obviously that expedited the transition from the old world to the new world. Pretty much ever since then, I will always ask for videos and or photos before I waste my time going out. So I will get an idea of, right, okay, well, that's just a straightforward boiler swap. I'll give them a ballpark figure. You know, if it's in the right range, I'll then, if it's like off the shelf and it's like quite simple, I'll just go on Quotient, produce the quote, send it off. If it then does need a site visit, I've already pre-qualified them because I've seen a few photos. I've given them some sort of rough figures, so I'm not wasting my time going out there if they think it's going to be a $2,000 job and in reality it's a $5,000 job. So there, most depends on the type of work, David. So I don't know what it is that you do, but there will be a way to streamline it one way or another. I wouldn't recommend changing everything at once, but maybe just asking for photos and short little video run throughs of what the customer wants, and then you can gauge whether it warrants you to go out as the owner, you know, or whether you could maybe outsource that to the person that you're going to be training, etc., to do it. What's your take on that, Andy?
So again, this is dependent on your business. I've popped a link there for anyone, because that's probably a conversation to have, a longer conversation to have with me or Wayne. My perspective on it is you should very, very rarely be doing quotes, and that again is where Quotient sits very well. I run that little brief before. If you pick up the phone and a customer says, I'm looking for a new combi boiler, I've got, for example, a 28i, a 30 kilowatt CDI or whatever it is in the kitchen. It's in a kitchen cupboard. The chimney goes straight out the wall. I keep saying chimney just because we refer to it as a chimney to the customer, because when you say flue, they're like, what's the flue? So you ask if it's going straight out the wall or not, if the condenser is running to the drain, and if it's got a 22 mil gas run. All of that, as Wayne said, can be established from 3 pictures, can it, realistically? A picture of the data badge, picture of the front of the boiler, a picture of the back of the boiler, and you know where you're at. That is enough information, in my opinion, to then be able to fire the Quotient across that you'll have already built out, whether it be, a 30 kilowatt or a 25. So we said that before. This is why, again, with strong pricing, you don't really need to worry about the little nuances. And this is the bit where I disagree with site quoting on. Most combi swaps are combi swaps. There isn't real complexity to it. They can be done in a day, almost all of the time. You're going to use a little bit of copper, some fittings, bit of cement, the usual spiel. It's really not going to change. So I always, like, for you, David, if you pull the data from, let's say, your last 10 installs, add up what you've made from them all and divide it by 10, and then build the Quotient out with a profit of that figure. Hopefully that makes sense, because what you're working on there is an average basis.
Yeah.
Some you're going to make a bit more. You might go and swap a Worcester 4. You might go to swap a Worcester 4000. There was a junior on the wall, so you're flying. But then you might be taking out, I know, something like what had the different piping layout, a Raven heat or something, where like the gas was over there, and you've got to swap it around. Yeah, so then you're actually going to need a bit more copper, or actually, I need to reroute this condense because I can't reuse the old run. But the reality is, you're talking very small amounts of money, so you have to offset the time it takes you to do the quote from a value, from a cost to the business. If it might take an hour to drive there, it might, half an hour to drive there, whatever it might be. If it's took you 2 hours to do a quote, that could have been done over the phone. And then that, again, this is where it depends on your business model. If that time could have been used for a line item job, boiler service, breakdown, rad swap, whatever you want it to be, if that could have been used for a line item job that can be booked in without any information, then you have to weigh up the costs, don't you? Is it worth the time as the business? Again, it depends on the business model. Naturally, to throw a bit of a caveat in, if you're going to be doing on-site quoting, and I'm not sure if you go and do the site visit, leave site, and then send the quote. Again, my perspective is if you're going to go out and do site quotes, I would have, and if I was doing them, I would be on site with my laptop with quoting it out, and I would be sat talking to them, talk them through it. If you're going to go and you're going to use the time, capitalize on it, charge really strong pricing, and talk them through it. Well, on this boiler, it's got a little bit more power to it. It's got a better design to it. It fires up a little bit faster for your hot water. It's got a siphonic trap that's going to prevent freezing outside from the condense, things like that. Talk them through it. I'm not saying sell it on site, but talk them through it. And that's going to better position you for things like upsells, because naturally, if you send the quote for that, it's on the customer to sort of figure out what that is. The younger ones, that's fine. The more middle-aged ones are like, oh, is it worth it? And then you got to talk to them over the phone. So in short, there isn't a definitive answer. It depends on your business model. If you have the time allocation for doing the site quotes, and in short, if you're getting a return on investment, which is what I said before, if you're doing loads of site visits and you're not getting that many jobs converted from it, then is it worth your time doing it? What you'll probably find, in my opinion, is moving forward, reducing the quoting time and creating a sort of hybridized model, because your jobs that are a bit more complex and maybe higher value jobs like a system conversion, you're going to probably want to go to that, have a chat to the customer, better position you. You got your branded van outside, you've got your work gear on, and you're going to have that chat. Your basic jobs, your straight combis, I do not believe need to be site visits. That's my opinion on it.
Yep, I agree. So David's also asked, is if they accept in quotient, is the information visible in ServiceMate? So the short answer is it is possible now, because ServiceMate has opened up their API. Personally, I haven't had the time or the inclination to bother to work it out, because all we do is basically each quote that is accepted or viewed or created, should I say, is a unique URL. So once they've accepted the quote, you get notified. We just copy and paste that link and stick it into the client job card, and then that information's just there then. So then you could just click it and it just loads up and opens the information. So the short answer is it's possible. But the way that I use it, and all of the lads that we work with use it, is that if they want that information to be visible within ServiceMate, they just, or whichever job management software, they just copy and paste that link and put it into the client diary, onto the job card, should I say, and go from there. So that's the easiest workaround. I have, however, though, to caveat that, so for some of the businesses in here, you will have heard of Sales Lion. The information does go, the link automatically goes into their opportunity card in Sales Lion. And like for people like me and Andy, like we work a lot of our businesses through Sales Lion, so we see that information there, and that's where I then copy and paste it into ServiceMate if I need that quote to be visible for like the contractor or whoever it is going out to the job. Anything on that, Andy, before we move on to the next question?
Yeah, so we don't have it plugged directly into ServiceMate, but again, ours is a very, you've all just seen the entire list of jobs that we carry out. Ours is like probably one of the simplest business models going. Basically, it's service, repair, install. Install is a secondary, but ours is primarily a service and repair business that focuses on service plans. But we use Sales Lion for basically everything. Let me just do another screen share. I'll just have a quick. So 1 second, lads. There we go. Right. Let me find the right screen. Sales Lion. There we go. Right. Okay. So this is Sales Lion. Some of you've seen it before. Some of you haven't. But basically, we were running everything through the business. So I'm just trying to find a suitable So this might be so there we go. So this bit here is where it's plugged into Quotient. So it's updated. So it shows you that the when the quote's been issued, it's probably not the best customer. I don't want to be wasting too much time. It can look a bit busy when we're flicking around on the screen. But basically, this is our CRM system. It will update to show that the customer's had the quote sent. If there's no response off the back of it or no further communication, then there will be an automatic WhatsApp that goes out and text that goes out to basically say, did you get a chance to look at the quote? So that was something else that we can plug in, but you need to be using SalesLine again. One thing I forgot to mention before, apologies boys, it does have an automatic follow-up built into it. I forgot to mention that before.
Yeah, so, you can set a couple of follow-ups, I think, can't you, for it?
Yeah. So let's have a look. So you can adjust when the follow-ups are, how often they go out. You can do a manual nudge on the quote if you wish. You can go into it and give it a nudge yourself. We have it set to 48 hours. So basically, if they haven't responded within 48 hours, it will give them a nudge to say, did you have a chance to look at the quote? Have you got any questions? Reach out, and you can just that just gets set automatically, and you can choose how long you the time frame that you want for that to take.
We actually, I've linked it to my SalesLion. So the minute a quote's sent, we have a text message go out through SalesLion an hour later, just checking in that they've received the quote. And then I think we send an email at that point as well. So I personally don't use the Quotient follow-up. I've exported it into SalesLion just because I have more. I can send WhatsApps and everything through that, so it just makes my life a bit easier. But it is a software that can talk to other softwares, you know. So in essence, the world's your oyster. It depends how much time, money, and effort you want to put into like the integration side. You know, I like to keep things as simple as possible, and sometimes meaning a manual step is actually a good thing because it means that there's some oversight to the process. Because it's all well and good, you know, how many times I've built software for people 6 months down the line, they're like, can we get this to do this? And I'm like, it's been doing it for 6 months, mate. What are you doing? Because they haven't been watching or seeing any of the process. They've just let it run. So I do like having some manual stop gaps, you know, that go right. You know, like putting that quote link into ServiceMate. That's a manual step, but that means that someone's clicked on that quote, looked at it, and is dealing with it, you know. But for them to have copied and pasted it into the job means that they've acknowledged that the job needs to be booked in, and I just find it makes the oils the machine, you know, having an odd manual stop everywhere.
Yeah, that's actually why we do it. I'm in total agreement with Wayne. That's why we do the process, the flow, if you will, that we said before, of quoting ServiceMate 0 rather than a different route, because I want the girls in the office to be able to cast their eyes over how things are moving. Just wanted to jump on Tyler's one there. The anxiety around pricing is right up there with probably, if not the most prevalent thing in this game. Like, you know, any of you that had listened to the podcast will hear me going on and on and on and on about pricing. And you'd all be amazed at what you can actually charge if you test the upper ceiling limit of it. But yeah, this would be really beneficial if people find it awkward. You know, we've all been there. You know, when I was still going out on site, I was probably the worst in the team for overriding the price that's been put into the job card, because the woman's a bit older, or she feels a bit vulnerable, or I've not been there for long enough, or whatever it might be. So this is a little bit of a disconnect in some way that you can remove that anxiety around it. But ultimately, it's removing the complexity, isn't it? As I said before, what you really don't want to be doing is saying, oh, well, actually, this job's going to need 3 meters of copper, and then it's going to need 7 fittings, 2 street elbows, 2 couplers. There's just no need to do it, and it's just a waste of your time. So this software basically allows you to. The primary thing is it's buying back your time is the most, while at the same time making your business far better positioned in the game. So not only is it faster and more efficient, it looks fucking way better than something that would take 10 times as long to do anyway. So last one there. Just David about using a call handling service. Again, the beauty of it, because it houses information that's been built out via an engineer, whether I built it out for you off my structure or whether there was input from that company into how we want the pricing. When you then hand that over to a VA, a call handling service, there's very little input that's required from them, and you can give them a script to work off. So basically, they want a boiler servicing. Yeah, that's fine. They need to ask the customer, what the make and model is, how old it is, when was it last serviced, if they've got an unvented cylinder. But that all can be put into a script for the customer, just as the script that I went through before for the combi swap can be the same. They can work through that, and they can add it to the job notes, whether they put it into service mate or job management, or we have a section built out on Quotient as well, that basically is for the office to capture that data for themselves. So you can have that in place so that the VA or the call handling service can capture that data. And again, you can work to that script. So we've got this section here, which is for the benefit of the office. So they can do this while they're on the phone to the customer, while they're both in Quotient. They can fill this information in. And they know exactly where we're at with it. So yeah, you don't need to be too concerned. I would actually say it would actually potentially save you some money from the call handling company, because you've streamlined their process at the same time. They're not taking loads and loads of information. It's like, well, actually, I only need to know this, and this. Okay, yeah, you should have a quote with you now already. The customer's like, what?
It's a no-brainer. A no-brainer. You need to be getting on it, I tell you. Right. On that note, we're going to wrap up for tonight. We've got 2 more planned for next month and the month after. If they continue to be popular, we will continue to do them. So please make sure that you go and register for the next one, which I've totally forgotten what it actually is. Okay, so next month is all about Service Mate. So that will, even if you're on Service Mate, it's not to be missed, because we're going to there'll be lots of stuff there that maybe you've forgotten about, or that you've not actually used yourself. So please make sure you come in and get involved on that. I've added links to everything we've discussed tonight in the chat, so you can go and have a look there. There's also a WhatsApp group, another WhatsApp group. I know people are reluctant to join WhatsApp groups, but feel free to come in, ask a few questions and leave. It's no pressure. But if there are any questions, or anyone that's watching on demand, then you can join the WhatsApp group and catch up with the chat and ask any questions. On that note, I'm going to say good night. Thank you very much for spending the evening with myself and Andy. Oh, one last shout out. Two shout outs. Sorry. So firstly, if you aren't already a listener of the podcast, please make sure you go onto Spotify or Apple and subscribe to the podcast. Completely free. All different subjects covering money, marketing, sales, systems, and everything in between. We release a weekly episode, so make sure you go there. And the last one is we've got a retreat on April the 24th, which is a day session where we work on the business. So a mastermind strategy session. And then we have an evening of ice bath, sauna, relaxing, maybe a few drinks, food, in a beautiful farm setting. They're amazing. We've currently got 2 spaces left. So if anyone is interested in that, then get in touch with myself or Andy, and it's first come, first serve. There's only so many people that we can fit in the venue, and there's 2 spaces left. So if you are interested, then let us know and get involved on that. Any last words, Andy, or are we done?
Yeah, so I've just put the link above to the podcast page on the website, which has all the different platforms on. I know everyone uses different platforms. And then we offer free 15-minute calls if anyone wants to ask any questions, whether it's about the Alliance, the coaching program, ServiceMate, Quotient, Sales Lion, whatever it might be. Just book that call in there. As you've probably already picked up, me and Wayne both like to talk. So yeah, just booking that call. And we can just, it can just be a chat. No commitments or anything, just a general chat. You know, as Wayne said before, we're both tradesmen at heart, so we know the situation. We've also both got live businesses as well, which makes us better positioned than a lot of other trainers who no longer have their businesses. We've still got live businesses, so and obviously you've all just seen a live viewing and showing of Quotient as it's currently used within our business. So yeah, any questions on that, just reach out to one of us.
Right. Have a good rest of your evening, gents. See you soon.
You guys.